Hi, I'm Sorinne, your muse, and welcome to Mindful Monday Meals. It is an honor to be here with you today. I'm grateful that you showed up and that you're holding space for us to connect in these ways. I've had a lot of ideas since I've started this little inspirational series, and I've been writing them down. And I'm thinking about possibly starting midweek snack, midweek meal down the road. We'll see. But today I feel especially called to talk to you about love. I feel that many people don't really understand what love is, but I believe that love is the answer to all of the world's challenges and ailments. And I believe that if we all made an effort to master being, giving, and receiving love, that we would live in a much more harmonious and prosperous and thriving world. And so, even though I don't have all the answers, I have thought about these things for some time, and I would like to share my ideas with you to see if they resonate with you. I'd love to hear your comments around this, so feel free to please comment on this video. Also, I wanted to let you know that I am doing my best to be as authentic and spontaneous as possible. So when I am filming, I am trying to do this on a first take, and I live in San Francisco, so there are noises and such around me, so please pardon that and realize that, this is reality. This is me just doing my best to be real with you, and I'm going to start making videos when I feel called, so that I'm in the moment, so it's fresh, so that you're getting the most out of me. And also, I'm doing this to challenge myself, because this is a form of self-love for me. I'm learning how to be more comfortable being me, because my whole life people try to push me in certain directions and form me, and mold me to be this way, to be that way. And it led to a lot of disease in my body, mind, and soul. And as I mentioned earlier, I've been pretty much on this journey for the past 10 years of doing my own thing. And it's been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, because I'm finally feeling comfortable in my skin. I finally understand why I'm here. I finally have courage and clarity and peace in my life and love. But it is still a work in progress. I am still a work in progress. I believe we all are. That mastery is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And the more you stick with it, the better you get at it. And so as far as love goes, what I learned along my journey is that most of us don't know how to love. And it begins in our childhoods. And it's nobody's fault. We're evolving, we're learning, we're adapting, and cognitive dissonance gets in the way, ego gets in the way. One of my teachers recently shared an idea with me that I agree with, that our number one addiction is our beliefs, because we will die and kill for our beliefs. And yet the challenge around that is that, unfortunately, many of us believe things that aren't true and that aren't good for us. And so learning how to look at your beliefs and reclassify them as that fact, theory, or fiction is really vital, so that you can operate from what is fact and recognize what's fantasy and leave it alone, and understand what's theory, that it's a possibility, right? So with love, my challenge that I see in others has been self-love. And the reason I mention it starts in childhood is because most of us had parents that did their best to show us love. And the way that looked for them and us was putting our needs first. And that's not really setting us up to thrive in life. Because when we learn that somebody else comes first, that means we come not first. And that's when we can get in trouble in life and become burdens and fall apart if we aren't actually loving ourselves. Now, the intention of our parents is great. They want the best for their children, but they didn't understand that this is going to affect us as adults. And so on the airplanes, we see, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then on your children and somebody else. Because if you can't breathe, you can't be of any good to anybody else. So you have to love yourself first. And self-love is very different than being selfish. Self-love is learning to say yes to you and no to what doesn't serve you. Being very clear about that, right? And also it's about, nourishing yourself, body, mind, and soul. It's about prioritizing yourself. It's about prioritizing correctly, right? Like putting good food in your body instead of buying something that you don't really need for instant gratification. I'm kind of removed from that world, I'll admit, so I pardon my examples if they don't relate, but I'm kind of in the place where I actually don't need more stuff. All I need is food and shelter and love. Those are my needs today, but that wasn't always the case. I used to be a total material girl. I loved stuff, shiny new things. I was always buying things for myself. I was always into getting a new car every 6 to 9 months. It was an addiction. I was trying to fill a void. But I've realized that you will spend your entire life trying to fill that void, and it'll actually get bigger and bigger and bigger until you learn to truly love yourself. And so it's actually very freeing and empowering, as well as financially responsible to practice self-love. I'm going to be talking more and more about love and self-love going forward, so I don't want to overwhelm you today. But I do want to talk a little bit more about another aspect of love, which is oneness. And as far as oneness goes, if you're not familiar with this term or what this means, it comes from two places, essentially, from science and theology. So science tells us that everything is energy. And there's only one energy in the entire universe. And it cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. It can only transmute and transmit itself, which basically means it can just change form from, now you see me, now you don't, right? So that's energy. It's always changing. It's perpetually changing. That's all that energy can do. Nothing stands still. Some forms transform slower than others, some faster than others, right? From the moment you're born into this body to the moment you're dead from this body, you're changing. It's the only thing. Your body's changing. The science says every so many years, I think it's 7 years or something, all the cells in your body have been replaced. You're a completely different person. So that's really important to keep in mind, that everything is energy and it's always changing, but it's all the same. And our outer senses deceive us because we start to look at things and think that they're separate from us, but really we extend beyond this physical form because the energy that gives this form life, gives your form life, gives all forms life, is infinite. It's always here. And so from the theological perspective, all of, I believe, the major religions of the world believe that there is just one God. And please pardon me if I'm incorrect. I have been studying as much as I can for about 3 decades now, but I still am a student. So please pardon me if I'm incorrect or misspeak I am coming from a well-intentioned place, so I hope that you understand that. But in my studies of theology, most commonly religions believe that there is just one God, and that God cannot be created or destroyed, and that God is everywhere at all times and has all the power and all the knowledge. Now, to me, this correlates to the science theory of everything is energy, and that's all there is, and it can't be destroyed, right? So if God and energy, whatever you want to call this one thing that is everywhere, is the only thing there is, that means that you are a part of me, and I am a part of you. We're all a part of each other. Everything here on this planet, in this universe, is connected. And so when you start to look at people as separate, you don't necessarily feel love for other people. You start to discriminate and have preferences. But when you look at everything as one, and you look at me as a piece of you, or your sister, or your mother, or your daughter, or your wife, or your girlfriend, whatever, if you start to look at every single person as a part of you, as part of your family, as a part of a unit that you care for, you start to treat people differently, you start to treat animals differently, you start to treat plants differently, you start to treat all living beings differently, because you realize that if this other being is suffering, that you suffer too. And if this other being is having pleasure, then you have pleasure too. And there's more to it than what I'm sharing today, and I promise that I will expand more, but I am doing my best to give you a little bit at a time so that you can keep up, because I don't know where you're at your current level of understanding, and so I kind of want to build everybody up to be on the same page. So I apologize to those of you that are beyond this, and I apologize to those of you who are just getting into this. If it's too little or too much, hang in there. I promise that I will connect all the dots for you. But as far as how we affect one another, I mentioned last week that thoughts are things. They don't just become things. And I want to touch on that in relation to love. So if I sit here and I just think about love and radiating love out into the world, what I'm doing right now is I'm raising my frequency, and I am literally exuding love. You can't see it with your eyes, but you can actually see it with technology now. There's the HeartMath Institute that has been studying this using scientific means, and MIT Institute also has been connecting people up to predict their thoughts. They can see these things now, technology, even though our naked eyes can't see it. You can actually develop your inner faculties, your inner senses to see these things if you feel so inclined. But we have science doing it for us now, which helps for the skeptical mind. And so the reason I'm mentioning that is that if I exude love everywhere I go, I'm going to influence the people around me to feel that love, especially if I am radiating love at a very high intensity. And whatever they're radiating is lower, they'll basically be kind of encompassed by my love. And the same thing goes for any other emotion, positive or negative. And so whatever you're thinking is going to affect the world around you. So if you focus on just radiating love and being loving, you're going to experience a more loving world. And something that's really important to keep in mind is that only you have the power to choose what you think, what you feel, and what you do. Only you can make yourself feel good or bad. Nobody else. All your feelings, they're in here. They're a part of you, always. Nobody else has that power. It's you. You might think that somebody else made you feel bad. No, you let them. You might think that somebody made you feel good. No, you let them. you can access any feeling you want, anytime, any place, if you want to. But you have to remember that you have this power and this like toolbox within you of all the possible emotions in the world. And you have to remember to go in there and choose what you want to feel and realize that you are in control, nobody else. On that note, I am going to let you go for today, so please leave comments and any questions you might have. If you have suggestions on topics, I am definitely open to hearing them. As I mentioned, I have quite a list going already, and I'm sure that we will be reviewing topics as well, because I am continuing to learn as a part of self-love towards myself and the oneness, because I believe it's the most important thing to do. So as I learn more, I will share more, and I will expand on conversations that we've already had. So thank you for tuning in today, and I will catch you next week. Bye!